Hi there, this is Sheena Rowlands and today I'm sharing with you my latest layout as a guest DT for Paige Evans, and this I'm using is her Scalloped Borders for stitching from the new bundle of 36 stitching cut files. So for this I'm going to use the Wonders range by Paige Evans, and I've cut this cut file straight on to paper 11 from the Wonders range. So I've done it on this pale blue cloudy side, and I'm going to stitch the scallop borders. So out of my stash I picked two different variegated cottons, both by Anchor. One is 01355 and 01345. I'll put that in the notes below anyway. So they're both blues, greens and yellows. So what I'm doing is I'm not going to subject you to all the stitching, but I'm just doing a back stitch. So I've started in the centre with the paler colour, and then I'm going to do the darker either side and work my way out. So I do a lot of sewing when I travel, so you can see that's me showing you how far I've got, and then I actually take this on a car journey, so there's no photographs of that, and I will show you shortly what it looked like when I was finished. So there's the darker thread. What I do is I split it in half into 3 strands, and then I thread 2 needles at a time so that I've always got one ready to sew with. So this is it finished, and it's all stuck down with bits of sellotape on the back, so it's dark light alternates, and I'm really pleased with how it looks. So now the next job is to turn this sewn background into a layout. So I'm bringing in the 3 photographs I had at the start. There's a story behind these and we'll get to that in a moment. So the idea is I want to back all 3 photographs with some pattern papers still from the Wonders range, and they're going to be in similar shades to the thread. So I've been looking for the greens, the blues and the yellows so that I can add those layers behind the photographs. So I'm just going to cut into these 3x4 cards. I'm not sure if that yellow is too bright. We'll see whether it makes it, but it's a pale green on the back, so that definitely could make the cut. So that's not too big a deal, and I've had a look at those tags. Now I really love those puffy word stickers and those puffy shapes for that matter, and I can't believe I'd not even used the packet. So I know they will definitely feature, and when they do I will be cutting them from the packaging with the background intact so that I can move them around and see what words go best. As I say, I'm still sticking with the same colour theme, so I'm looking for blue, yellows and greens. So I'm just in my mind at the moment trying to figure out where I want to place things on this stitching. I know what's probably going through your mind, like it was mine, is actually I don't want to cover up too much of it. I've enjoyed sewing this, and the idea was not to cover the whole thing. So that's in the back of my mind as I look at this. So some of the words that I looked at were exciting adventures. I think there's also selfie, smile today. There's quite a few choices in the colours that I would like to use, so that's perfect. So I'm now just trimming the layers to go behind the photographs because there's something else I want to do first. So I'm just making sure they're roughly, I'd cut them out with scissors, so I'm just straightening them up on a small guillotine there. And I will think about roughing the edges up with a distresser as well, I would think, but I'm going to look at their placement on this layout first. So I'm just finishing off the layers, and then you may see I've got a scalpel in my hand. You're thinking, what is she going to do with this layout now? So I'm just marking where I think these photos should sit, because the reason that I sewed these scallops in blue is I was thinking they look like water, or they could look like water. So I decided I would cut round these scallops with a scalpel in places and tuck my photographs in. I have to say, it did take me a few minutes to pluck up the courage to make the first cut. But once I did that, I was absolutely fine. I was very conscious that I might want to cut it when I sewed it, so I wove all the ends in as I went. And so therefore, there wasn't any cotton to cut through, there was a little bit of sellotape. So I've made like a little pocket there for those 2 photographs at the bottom right. It wasn't as scary as it seemed once I'd done it. And as you can see underneath, it was a glass mat that I had underneath the layout. And also that was a new blade in that scalpel. And I did try it out just on the manufacturer's strip from this paper, just to make sure it was cutting nicely. So I do apologise for the bit of hair. you're getting there, because this is me cutting another set of scallops at the top left to pop the third photograph in. And I am taking my time, and you may notice that I'm actually moving the paper rather than the knife. I've just slow and steady wins the race, really. And but I realised that actually the cut edge that you can see on the scallops in the end, I could always trim them down a little bit if I had to. So I'm just making sure it's all released before I try and slide that photograph in there. And then I pop that one in as well. So yes, a little bit surprised. There was a bit of cotton sticking through there that I've trimmed off, that I actually cut into this fully sewn piece. So I'm now bringing in some embellishments. I like the way that looks, and I really like those words, but it's just getting the placement right that is the key. Sometimes the less you put on a layout, sometimes the harder it is to find its right home, rather than piling lots on and then you feel that you've covered it. I really want to add some journaling. I quite like this Polaroid, and that journaling card there could be cut. I do cut it to fit inside the photo frame, because I do want to write a little bit about where we are and what we're doing. So I'm thinking about that as well. I've also got some of these banners. I've got one on either photograph at the moment. One says "So much fun," one says "Today." They're also from the same Wonders range. Obviously, I don't like the words that are on the Polaroid, so I'm thinking of how to cover that up. And at the moment, I've just cut into a tag to cover that. That bit doesn't make the cut in the end, but at the time, it seemed like the right thing to do. So while my hands are busy moving things around, I was going to talk a little bit about the photographs. So these photographs were only taken in the last couple of weeks, which is unusual for me to scrap something so quickly. But we were on holiday and we went to Laos, which is in Asia. It was part of Indochina at one stage. And we managed to swim in a waterfall. It's in Laos, it's very famous, this waterfall. And we got to swim in it, so I was really impressed. I was quite impressed with myself, if I'm honest, that to get into this waterfall. But it was fabulous, because it's quite a hot country, and the water was just lovely. I'm wearing a t-shirt in the photographs because they believe in modesty there, and ladies needed to have their shoulders covered and when they were in the water, and not to be in revealing swimsuits and stuff. So we abided by their rules and had a fabulous time. So going back to the layout a little bit, you may notice that the photos on the bottom right have actually moved down a scallop. While I was making a cup of tea off camera, I came back and thought, actually, I wanted to bring the photos down. So I cut the lowest line of scallops, and the photo above just moved into the ones that I'd already cut. That means that I've actually moved my title into the centre, and I've turned the Polaroid round, and I'm going to put... I'm going to decorate the top of it and then add my journaling to the bottom half. And I've increased the cut scallops there so I can tuck that one in as well. I also found some glass like dewdrop beads, so they're definitely going to make it onto this layout. I'm just sorting through them on a tray underneath the chipboard, and there's some nice little chipboard circles there in the right colours with a bit of like a gold star. They're also going to make it on. So I've tidied up a bit around myself, and that helps me focus the way I think and how I'm going to finish this off. So I'm just looking for some small embellishments really to add on, and then I will start to get things stuck down. I had a few dots either side of the title. In the long run, they don't make the cut, because once I start adding other things, I feel like that area doesn't really need it. So I'll start adding these glass dewdrops. I've got those in clear blue and green, and I think they go really well. Add a nice shine. So I'm going to sprinkle them around both sets of photographs and around the title. Just going to add those when I do stick them down with a little bit of wet adhesive. I'm just using the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to stick those down, and they stick firmly without... If you put just a little drop down and it sticks them down, you can't actually see it through the dewdrop. They're so small anyway, so I think that gives a nice watery feel, because I don't feel like this layout needs flowers or hearts or anything like that. I think there's enough going on with the stitching. And I don't know whether you would have thought the scallops look like water or whether they actually look like water, but I do like the feel that they've given by stitching them this way up and with the variegated thread. So I'm quite pleased with how they're doing. So I'm just sticking these down, as I said. As you can see, I had to fish through a load that I keep in a jar. This year I'm trying to use up some supplies that I've had for a while that I've not used, and sequins and glitter, and these dewdrops have appeared on more layouts in the last couple of months than they have done in the last few years. So that's always a good thing. It's going to take me a while to go through all of those, but it's nice just to use some different supplies up. So I'm nearly finished now. Do check out this bundle that Paige has on offer. It's great value and some fabulous stitching cut files. Here's the finished layout and some close-ups too. If you've liked what you've seen, give us a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. It would be much appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.